Oh well, I feel like if I don't if something wrong doesn't happen on my life's event, is not like is not like me doing a life event. Anyway, uh, oh, I have like a someone talking on the other side that is me. Okay. Oh my goodness. Yeah, see, I told you. I thought that by maybe the 10th time that I have done this, I will be good at it, but it looks like not. Anyway, everybody, welcome to UX and Tame. My name is Juliet Fajardo. And the main idea of UX and Tame is to have a space where mostly I would say new UX designer coming into the field, they know what is happening. But I feel like I've been bringing so many different people in the field that I feel like it's for all designers. And I feel for even people just switching careers, trying to see what is tech. So everybody's welcome to this space. So thank you for being here. Today, I'm super excited, as always, for my guest. She's going to tell us about a little bit what it is to switch careers to be an engineer, then go to UX design, and what it is to be an immigrant and looking for a job in a new country. Uh, so let's bring her in. I think I can do that. That's easy for me. I won't mess it up for this. So let's welcome Procheta. Hello. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, thanks for having me and like giving me the opportunity like to talk and like chat about this.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Anyway, thank you for being here. Why don't we start telling people? Oh, super excited. Procheta lives here in Vancouver too. We haven't met in person yet, but that's like a quick, fun fact about both of us. So anyway, why don't we tell people who you are?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so hey everyone. So my name is Procheta, as you already like hear from Juliet, and I'm currently living in Vancouver, and I'm living in Vancouver since the day one I stepped in Canada in 2019 in January, and since then I'm living in here. And I came here to do my master's degree in the Simon Fraser University, and then I finished my master's like in 2020, and then I started my full-time job as a UX designer. So if you're in Vancouver, like feel free to ping me, like we can hang out, and always I'm always open to chat in the LinkedIn.
Nice. Thank you so much. Let's yes. Let's tell people a little bit about like a unique something fun about you. What will that will be?
Okay, so let's say something about unique I could say, like for me. It's like I'm just kind of like a obsessed person, like not in a negative way, like a positive way. Like for instance, like if I have a goal or a target in my mind or in front of me, then I just get like a super obsessed of that to complete that one. Like then like okay, I can skip my sleep and I can skip like hanging out with my friends and like going out and everything just to like finish that one. So that is one thing like about me, and it's unique. And in the fun thing, let's say I'm a very talkative person. Like I always love to talk and chat. Like if you want to talk to me, like I could talk forever, like about any topic. So that is kind of like a fun thing from me.
No, I love it, and I don't know if I love it too, and I feel like a lot of designers. I don't think that all designers will say that it's like this, but I feel like a lot of designers, maybe because we have to interact with so many people, that's something like a trait that we do as a designers. But yeah, I love to talk to people and meet new people. And by the way, I was just telling Puchetta before starting the event. If you are in Vancouver, tomorrow is happening. Vancouver check-in event in person. I haven't been able to meet anyone from that Slack group yet. We can share the link later. But yeah, it will be tomorrow, Saturday at Brent Station. You have to sign up for the event. And I think there's some tickets left, but it will be from 4 to 9 tomorrow, Saturday, in Brent Station in Vancouver. So we're going to meet in person, so that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yes. Okay. So you told us again a little bit, really short, about your story of how you became or how you came into design. But why don't you tell us a little more in detail? How did you ended up in UX design?
Okay, so I guess that could be like a really long story, but I can keep the long story short. So it's basically like not something about UX design that I already knew. Like I didn't even knew the term UX design until I came to Canada. So I was doing my engineering, like I did my undergrad in computer science and engineering, but it also wasn't something that I wanted to study programming or computer science. So it was like so from my childhood I was always like passionate of or love doing like the design and artwork. But since like back in my country, like the design or art that really doesn't count as a career option, or there's no degree or like any university that they won't have that one like in that much like common. So I had to like I was preparing for my medical exam, but somehow I ended up like studying computer science and engineering. And then like in I really struggled of doing coding at the first because like that was kind of like a different thing, right? So the coding is all about like the logical. There's not much things to do about like the creativity, but the design and art is all about like thinking more like the creative out of the box solution, something like that. So that was like I struggled at first to adjust that with the coding and programming, but then I like realized, okay, so if I had to do this like a 4 years course, I have to find something like that I can do it like really well. So then somehow like I came up with this like that Photoshop and Illustrator that things, and I saw like, oh, I can make cool design and cool things with that one. Then I got to know like about the web design. So then I said, oh, this is really cool. I can do programming and do the design both. So that is what I am gonna do. So since from my second year, I started learning web design by myself, just to like keep my work going and study going on the coding, and also like do some design work on the side by side. So that's how like, and also like whenever like there are like any group project, class project, or hackathon or anywhere, I was always like jumping into doing all those design work, doing all those presentations, like any graphical items. I used to always like take up those kind of rest of responsibility first, and then like rest of the others. So and that's how made my like engineering undergrad like somehow like work out. But then I realized, okay, so then I have to do my master's. Like, in my dad is so obsessed with doing like a master's and PhD. So now when it comes to like doing my master's selection, then I realized, okay, so since I couldn't do something about design in these 4 years, then if I can find something for the next 2 years for a master's degree, then at least that would give me some sort of option to do what I love to do. Then I saw the like a really interesting course in our Simon First University. They have this school called Interactive Arts and Technology, where there's like all those design works and everything, design courses are there. So I find that really interesting. So I get into there in masters to see like, okay, so how I can do something with the design. But when I started my masters in here after coming like in 2019, I wasn't that much excited because by saying the course curriculum, because whatever the course curriculum I saw, those are all related to the undergraduate students, all those design like a graphics design, digital image design, user interface design, interaction design. But in masters, there's not a single design course. But there is a design course, but that is like the research design course. And that's what like we call like the human computer interaction design. It is more like the research label, not anything to do with like the making a prototype or app or website. That's what we always like assume like a design means. So, and that was like pretty intense in my master's. So then I thought, okay, so this is also not something that I really wanted. Like, then what else can I do? So then I said, okay, so I can do TA, like a teaching assistant from there I have the option to select the design courses, like if I want to teach a design course. And then the first course, like I didn't get that, was not quite design, it's like the web development and design, but that is something I also love, the design. And then I got did all of those, like the design course choosing, like the digital image design, interface design, programming design, like all the design courses in SIAT that I taught. So pretty much like in 2 years, I have taught 8 design courses, and that's where I learned most of my like the traditional design stuff, like all this design process and everything. So it's basically I was learning by teaching. So when I have to teach to my student, I need to study and do all those things by myself at first, and then I have to teach them. And when I was teaching them, and there's a lot of question coming up, like, and sometimes it happens like I didn't know all the answers, but I came home and I tried to figure this out, and then I explained to the students. So, and that's how I really learned a lot. So that was like kind of like a little bit of transitioning of doing the design. And then I think like, okay, so since I did a lot of teaching about design, so and did the research design, so I have a pretty much like a strong background of having like a both. So that's not like I thought, okay, so why not like I give it a try to actually do some work, like be in the industry as a designer rather than moving to the PhD right away. And then I can do my PhD like in later. There's no age restriction of that. So and that's how like I ended up like being in the industry. So that is like pretty much like a little bit of story.
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, and I feel like that's one of the things that I think maybe people will be afraid when teaching is like, I don't know all the answers. Yeah. What about if
Yeah.
people ask me and I don't know? And I think, I mean, you just try to find it. Yeah. Like, I think that that was a great way for you to learn. And I think for you to see, do I really like this? Can I see myself doing this forever, or at least for the next 5 years? So I think that was a great way to learn and see where you wanted to go. But I feel like not everything is like happiness and
Yeah.
joyful. So
Yeah.
yeah, so why don't you share a little bit of the struggles that you have when going into design?
Okay. So since I have already mentioned like a little bit about the struggle, like not having those kind of the proper design degree or not studying the design courses by myself, but there's like a couple of other things also, like for instance, like lack of resources, lack of guidance, and lack of opportunities and lack of supports. So what I meant by, for example, like the lack of resources is that since I came to a different country, like everything was new to me. I didn't know a single people. And also I was changing my background. So I was just studying my master's in those essay research field, but I was trying to do something with design. So I also couldn't like find out any people like around me, like who is from the design field. So all I had the opportunity is to like go to LinkedIn and find like who works as like a designer or anything, and then try to connect with them and see like if I can get a chance to talk with them. And also that was like, so right after I came to Canada, after a few months, the pandemic and the lockdown started. So that was also like a really barrier. But for instance, those who are already in here, like in that common field, like for example, if I was trying to do something with computer science or trying to be a researcher, then I wouldn't lack of resources because I know like all the people and all those connections about those fields. So it's just like when you're switching from a different background to a different field, like that is one of the main struggle, like not having that kind of resources. And when I don't have that kind of resources, like I was lacking of guidance because I didn't have like a mentor, like a designer. I didn't know anyone like who works as like a senior designer or who is my senior or who is my alumni. So I also couldn't get that kind of proper advice, like or couldn't like ask someone, "Oh, okay, hey, I don't understand it. Can you explain me that?" Or like, okay, can you help me on that? I also couldn't do that because I didn't have that scope like to me as well. And then the lack of support and the opportunity is like, since like, okay, so there can be like question like, okay, so since why didn't you do a boot camp, or why didn't you do like a course or a training or workshop or anything? It was because I was an international student in here, and I was studying on a full funded scholarship. So I didn't have that kind of financial support here that I can use like all the financial support I was getting from my university that was going for my living and the tuition fees. So I was hardly saving any extra penny to do something else. So I also didn't have the options like, and also for that kind of loan or anything, since I was just like a on like a study visa, like, that is also not a way for me to ask for loan or to get loan from somewhere. And then like since I also couldn't do that, all I was just me, like what I can get it for free and what I can do utilizing my spaces. And then the opportunity like, and since the same thing is that like since I was like new here, like I didn't know like how the internship works or how the co-op things works, like that is really valuable in here. Like if you want to go to a full time, everyone will check even if you have an internship or if you have done any co-op. Like that's what I also couldn't do because I only had the permit to work like 20 hours a week. And all those places I looked for and explored, like everyone was recording like to work as an intern like a full time. Like that was also I wasn't like permitted in my visa, so I also couldn't do an internship or co-op or anything. So it was like also whatever I was trying to do, all the stairs are like no, 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 you cannot do that.
And I feel you forgot to mention the cost of being an international student, and I know that's one of the biggest thing when you're moving here. That's such a different prices that you have to pay for being a student. Um, okay, so you told us all the struggles, but I know that you didn't stay there in the struggles. Like, how did you went around, and how did you work to make sure that, yeah, that you didn't stay in the struggle, but you instead use these as a way of growing and learning?
Okay, so I guess like so for me, yes, definitely like I wasn't like stuck in there. So the first thing I did, like for instance, like I mean, like so I didn't have that kind of financial support, backups or anything. So what I did, like I tried to do like what else I can get it for free and what is in my surroundings. So that's where I found the teaching assistants that would be like a really helpful and valuable for me because I could learn like all of those design stuffs and everything for free, and also from like a university level, from like a academic, from like a actual course curriculum. And that's where like I was just like teaching, like even if like I struggle, like so sometimes like there's a time I was like teaching like 12 hours a week just taking lab, and then like I had like for example like more than hundreds of assignments that I had to check like every week, and also like always talking to the students doing the feedback. So it's just like a more than like a 40 hours I was spending just for doing that. And like why I was doing that, because there is no, like that is the only way from there I can learn, because I was learning from the professor, I was learning from my students as well, and I was learning from the course. And also like all those assignments that I was giving to the student, I was also doing all those assignment by myself as well, just beside with my own course assignment. Like I had my own course and I had my research assistant job where I have to work as like a researcher. I have to do all those like the programming in Unity and AI, all those kind of stuff. And those are like the totally like a different types of field, right? I was teaching design things and doing my own research, like the research, and for the I was doing all this programming. And then like for I did a lot of free courses like during the pandemic. So there's like the Coursera courses and like the Udacity. So I did all the design related courses in Coursera and Udacity, like just by taking those like the scholarship and like the financial support from there. And that was kind of helpful to get some of the ideas. So I just wanted to like make sure so that I don't miss out anything, because I was always just scared like since I haven't gone to like any schools or anything, like they always like know better those kind of people. Like I will always know less. So that's why I just making sure I just look for and study and do like everything, whatever is like there for free. And then also like the thing like since I couldn't do any internships or any kind of co-op, so this is what we face like as an international students, like every one of us. So I think I found like a couple of really good solutions for that. Like, so I did a lot of voluntary work, like the voluntary work. Okay, so like I was making someone's like the website design or app design or anything just for free because I know like I'm just giving my time in there because along with like making sure all of my RA, TA, and my own coursework, everything is there. But I was doing that because I wanted to gain some experiences since I couldn't take the traditional experiences in here. So why not doing something that is in my area? So I was doing a lot of volunteer work. Then I did a lot of contract job as well. So it means like a project based. So like if there's like a someone like I was always been into like the Reddit, like LinkedIn and other places. So if it is like okay, oh okay, they need a like a designer to do a project. So if it's paid or not paid, I always jumped in and then I see like okay, so if it's in my capacity, then I was doing that. So that is the thing you need to always also follow. Like since it's not just always about the money, is or it's not just always about the name or the tag where I did the internship. So sometimes you have to do this little bit of compromise and see like how you can also get something like similar. So those kind of like experience was really helpful to at least like overcome or to mitigate some of those lackings, like not having zero experiences, at least have some experiences. But even if you don't get paid or anything, but you have something that is an investment for your future.
Mm. I love that. I love what you're saying because at one point we cannot stay stuck in the problems that we have around, and how do we make sure that this is what is happening in this moment is going to help us for the future. And I think to try to find different solutions and go around and say like, okay, no one is hiring me because I don't have full-time hours, I just have 20 hours, how I can make sure that I grow in my skills. And I think volunteering is always like a great opportunity. It will give you the chance to talk to people, work in a multidisciplinary team. And then that's what everybody's going to ask you when you are going to apply for a job. Who do you work with? Can you show me the work that you have done? So it's a win-win. Yes, we would love to get paid every time that we work for someone, but sometimes they're really good and beautiful opportunities and stuff that you feel passionate about and that you can learn. So why not? And definitely the teaching part, you are not just giving your time to people is giving you their knowledge and how to see different perspective and how to solve problems in a different way. So you have to take it all in and take it for the future for whatever is coming. So I think that's great. um, we can say that there is a lot of similarities, or there is a lot of that we can learn from being an engineer. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know, but there's so many commonalities that we can definitely find in engineering and design, and definitely to know how to speak to engineers is like a great advantage as a designer. But you coming from that field, what are kind of skills have really helped you to succeed as a designer?
Okay. Yeah. I guess so. There's like a common myth, like I always heard, like when I was like transitioning to design from engineering, like that people are like saying, oh, okay, so you had an engineering background, so that is not gonna work, or like your 4 years of like studying computer science and engineering that will add like zero value to a design career or something. So you'll always hear this kind of like talkings like around you, but don't always just like believe on that. Just at least like verify. So I also had this kind of things, but when I actually like was doing my work, like in my full-time job, I'm working as a UX designer in BGC Engineering. So our office is in downtown, and that is like, and I'm working in the software team as a designer. So being in the software team, I find my previous like software development experience is being really helpful because you already mentioned, so I had to always deal with developers. Like, so from the very first day to until the product is completely launched, and even if after launch, I have to always keep in touch with the developers to explain them, okay, so this is how this will work. And also while I am working, like for example, when I'm designing my website or I'm designing my product, since I have that kind of like the coding and software development background, I know like, so if I just trying to like implement interactions in Figma or XD, so I have some sort of like idea. Okay, so this is gonna like take them like 2 hours, or this will be like a not so fancy, but this would be helpful, or this would be easy to implement, and that will also serve the same kind of functionality. So not doing like something like fancy and crazy, okay, and then come to the developer and say like, oh no, this is not gonna work, this is not gonna work. So at least that I can like come up with like do some sort of sorting by myself like ahead of time to see like, okay, so how much is possible to implement, how much is not possible. So based on that, I shape my design, and definitely like when talking to the development team, then there's like adjustment comes up. But and also when I was talking to like the developer designers, so since I have that background, so I know like what are the terminology they're mentioning. Like I don't understand like everything, but I understand like sometimes like quite a lot. Like okay, so what are they referring to? Like what are those like they're referring to? Like so I don't have to be like, oh okay, so what are they saying? Like I don't understand anything. Like okay, so then so at least like that's kind of like create like a easy communication and conversation, like when we are talking, when we are in a meeting, to understand those values. And that really helped me. And when I was like, even if like not in my full-time job, like when I was like doing the project work and the contract work, like when there's like, so I remember like there's like a project like where there's me and there's like another like a graphics designer. So when we're like, he was doing some really cool design, and that was like really fancy. But the fact was like, the designs are good, everything is good, but we have to understand the technical limitation. We have to understand the budget and the time constraint and everything. So what it turns out like most of the time, most of the work didn't come to the development, but and also there's like when we are talking about like terminology and technical implications, like most of the time like I saw like he was kind of like a struggling to understand, but for me it was kind of easy to grasp, okay, so what they're trying to say, like, and I could really see like, okay, so if I made this design, would that hurt it, or would that have any kind of technical limitation? At least I can have that basic idea. But it's not like something like if you don't, you have to have an engineering background to be a designer in a software team. But it's just like a bonus that I have when I'm doing the design, and also understanding like the applications and value of implementation. Like so I can like, so in the engineering we always have that kind of the logical thinking. So and in design it's just creative, but now I can make a balance between that. I can make creative things, but also think, okay, so is it possible, and why is not possible, and why I cannot make it? Not by thinking, oh no, why cannot we make it? Like we have to make it or something. So I think like that kind of background is like really helping me in my current role. And but it's definitely a variable, like if you are a designer in other kind of teams, or if your team doesn't require that, then that's not like you're okay to good. But I didn't like when I was also like doing my this job or started this job, I also didn't know like my that background would be helpful, but it came out. So like it's just always like whatever the background you have, like it's an engineering or literature or like anything, just don't think that's the best. Like there's always be use of that. You just need to like find out like how you can like make the best use of that.
No, love it. And I think, yeah, sometimes with spending most of the time with developers is like, yeah, like you were saying, I come with this idea and they always like, And what is nice about them is they always come with like a backup plan. It's like, okay, what about if we did this? It's going to take less time. But yeah, I feel like having that knowledge and having like different like different things that you can present to them and they can choose, and you knowing that it will take less time and it will be easier to implement, I think that's a great skill to have, definitely. Well, and I love that you said, oh, if I want to do a design, I just go and do it by myself. So I love that. That's always so magical for me. um so yeah, you told us this. Okay, so you told us a little bit, how do you start getting experience um, before getting a job? Because I think that's what everybody's going to ask you, and I know that sometimes it's difficult because people is asking for years of experience for an entry level. But how did you start figuring out like what to do, like uh who to connect with, or how to find the contract work, or how to start talking to people and they believe that you can do it? How do you show those skills?
Okay. Yeah. I already touched a little bit about that, but okay, so since I guess like now I can like explain it more. So for like the traditional experience, like so that's what we call like a full-time job or internship or co-op, like but other than that, like since I couldn't do any of those, I did like all the other things like except those. So the voluntary work, let's just start with that. So the for the voluntary work, like I was always looking through like all this like the Slack design. I searched online and we joined a lot of like Slack group, Discord group, and lots of meetup group and everywhere. And in I find that Reddit is like a really good place for this kind of things. And I was also looking for like the Upwork and Fiverr in all of those places. So in those places, so I would say like it wasn't that easy, but you have to keep applying. So sometimes like it happens like for the couple of months I applied. Okay, so this is my resume. I also applied with my resume and my portfolio just for a free volunteer work, but I didn't get a response. So it's common, so you have to be that. So if you it can happen like you just applied like one places and you got the reply, but it can happen I applied to like hundred of places but didn't get a single reply. So that was kind of, but somehow like I got couple of like reply from there, and there I got some voluntary work. Like since this is a voluntary work, so I didn't have to like go through like a lot of like the work showcasing and everything of that. Like all these projects are pretty much like a lightweight. So, and then, but definitely I had to show some of the work like that I did some sort of like the designer. So, okay, see, like this is what I can do, this is what I can make it for you. And sometimes it was also not the exact kind of work. Like, for example, like it was not like, okay, so I have to make a like a pretty website and have to do all of this design process. It wasn't like that. Sometimes it was like, okay, so you have to design a website and you also have to build it. And that has to be, for example, in WordPress, or that has to be using like HTML, CSS. So, but I was doing all of this, but so whatever was important for me, at least I was getting some experiences. And that is also in some sort of like the design experiences, and I was getting the experiences of how to communicate with people, how to talk with people while doing in such a, like a business environment. So that's what like I did, but and also for the project work and the like the contract work, like I pretty much like use like all of those like the socials and online platform that I mentioned. Like since I didn't know like anyone like personally, so I couldn't ask for anyone, hey, can you help me find a work, or can you give me find work, because nobody knew me, right? So we met like a thousands of people online, but I find it like also like this is kind of really overwhelming. Like if I don't know someone personally, if someone doesn't know me like personally, or like doesn't have an idea of my background, or didn't have like a background check of me, like they're less willing to like not giving the work, like they're less willing to like even continue the conversation. So that is also like another struggle, but you don't have to take it personally. It's not like something like, oh, nobody wants to talk to me or nobody wants to give me work. So it is how it is. So you have to like take those, and then for that, so what I did, like I made like a, so there are a couple of checklists that I can mention. So have a like a portfolio ready. It doesn't have to be like a website or like a app with A to Z all about the UX design case study, the traditional case study that we see online. Just have something that is relevant. Like if you made some photography, have that one because that also shows you like the creativity, and that also like shows you like how you view, how is their perspective and everything. And do some like the passion projects as well. So if you don't get volunteer work or anything, just take some work from somewhere. Like for example, like I made like a free project like just in my free time, like the how to like redesign the Alexa app for Android, or like how to like redesign the Discord or Slack, like, and see like take any of those like existing softwares. And I did like search online, like whatever I went to the reviews of those softwares and see like whatever people are complaining about the softwares, like whatever is the bug is, and I took that as a note and I tried to design something that solved those bugs. So, and I also added that in my portfolio first until I get those like the contract and project work. So that also shows like you're not just always doing work for money or not just always doing work for someone else. Like you're also loving that work. Like you're spending your free time to do some work. So that is also like really valuable along with those like the experiences and along with those paid work as well. So have that kind of work in your portfolio, like any design work, and also have your like the resume ready, like the updated resume, but not make sure like I have is like 2 or 3 pages long because people don't have time to read that much. Like, but some people have, so it's not like so. It's better to like go with a shorter version, like have it like 1 pages and have just only the important one and like see like how it works. So for me, the 1 pages one really works well. So have that one ready and always have like some sort of like the template email or like a cover letter, not like actual cover letter with like a doc file, but have some sort of like a little bit about you and like why you would be a great fit for the role and what can you do and why they should take you, like some sort of this kind of common template that I always had. And like whenever I was applying to like even if it's Reddit or any or like any anonymous platform, I was just always just including that in my first message because they get like a tons of messages like that. But I thought like if I just attach my portfolio along with this messages and resumes, then they will say, okay, so this is not just a cold message from someone. This is a real person. And like, what if they have time to see your portfolio and a resume and give you the work? So there are tons of ways. Like you need to just figure it out, like what works best for you. But don't just always follow. Okay, so he did that, so I have to do that. It's not always like that. Like everyone has a different platform and different journey and different type of patterns. So
Yeah, I mean, is how do you use your strengths in your benefit? And you need to try. If you stay at home and don't talk to anyone and don't work on anything, then you don't know if it's going to work. And I love that part where you were saying keep working in your craft. Like if you don't have like a job coming in, like yeah, go and try to design something, make that craft and your skills moving and growing. Like you can show people that you care, that you love what you're doing, that you're invested to learn, that you're putting your effort to do something. So at the end of the day, you need to keep moving and showing that you care and you want to find something. And the only way doing that is trying. If you stay at home and do nothing and talk to no one, no one is going to know about you.
yeah,
And yes, and I feel like a lot of people who have the same thoughts with the portfolio, like, oh my goodness, I have to have this fancy thing, website or something happening, and that will take some time. And I think if you again keep working in something and showing to people and see if it works, if not, what do you need to adjust? So go out and show what you do and see what people are saying about you. Um, I don't know. I don't know what I didn't put these questions here, but and I know that you told us a little bit the struggles of being an immigrant and move to a new country and not knowing people. Um, but now that you've been here for a little bit longer and you kind of went over those struggles, um, what do you remember from the past and what it is to be today here and said, okay, I went through that, I learned, I grow. Will you have done something different too?
Uh, I would say yes. So like on that time, like since when you're new in a new country all alone by yourself, like you don't know anyone. Like I used to remember like in 2019, like before the pandemic, I used to go to like a lot of like local meetup events, like, and I was getting lost all every single time because I didn't know the road. Like I missed the bus and train, like everything. So that is kind of like a different type of experience. And when you are going through that phase, so you have to learn the new culture, you have to learn the new society, and at the same time, you have to do your own study, you have to make your own career. There's so many things. So the mistakes can happen. So, and definitely, I also did a lot of mistakes, but though I don't remember all of them, but there is one thing like I could say, like, uh, on that time, like I was like a little bit, I don't feel like little bit, I was like way too inferior on that time, feeling inferior about myself because I used to always think, oh, like nobody knows me, like nobody is not gonna talk to me, like, or like, oh, I don't have like a proper English accent, like nobody is like, gonna continue chatting with me, like, and that's why like I always have that like kind of fear inside me, and that's why every time like when I had like some sort of opportunity to do some socials or going to the meetup events, like talk to someone else, like, oh, okay, should I start talking or should I just like wait until someone come to me and start talking? So that is kind of like the one thing like that I think like I would try to like definitely like redo. Like I saw like on the same time I used to see like a lot of other people like who were also like new to me, but they're so bold. Like they're making mistakes and like they kept doing the same mistakes again and again, but they didn't stop. Like, and I was that like, okay, so what if I do something wrong, or what if like if just they don't like it, like, and that's why like I wasn't like doing that, or I wasn't like taking the risk to do the mistakes like on that time, like for, and then it took me like a really a long time to understand, okay, sure, I can make mistakes because I'm doing this for the first time or everything's new for me, so I'm good to do make mistakes and like let everything go and like just apologize for your mistakes and try to learn from the mistakes. So that is one thing I think like I wish like I could like redo that on that time. Then things might have been different now, like if I did it differently, but or may not be, but since I didn't try that one at first, so I don't know for sure. But if I had to go back, I definitely like try to like redo that.
I mean, I feel like for anyone that is an immigrant always feeling this way. And yes, I that English part, like I don't know how to say it. I'm going to say it wrong. I don't want to sound like like I don't know
Sounds
what
like
is
a silly or
happening.
like a laughing stock. I don't be a laughing stock in a party.
Yeah, totally. So I feel like, yeah, for me, it took me a while. And I will say that for me has been a rediscovering of myself going into design. I think it have given me the opportunity to see my life in a different way and what I do. And I mean, this podcast and my other YouTube channel in Spanish is a proof of that. It's like, okay, maybe I'm not the best at this, but I want to try. And but you putting yourself out, you just get better. And I think it's like training for any sport or learning something new. You just need to put the hours, the effort, and yes, learn from the mistakes. And like you were saying, I mean, at least you are conscious about like, oh, this is what I did, and I learned from it. And I think now I go for it. I mean, doesn't matter if I made a mistake or if I say something wrong, I go for it because I know that that's my young self will love that about me. And again, this is what we do every day, and that's I think the most important. Acknowledge it and say, okay, how can I do better? Let's don't do it again. I think why to repeat something that we know that we can improve, and improving is just doing maybe a little bit every day and going out of your comfort zone. um yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I love about me now. Is like my English is a bad English.
Yeah,
You,
like
yes, like you
yeah,
can
because
hear
it's
my
not our
accent.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's not our first language, right? If
yeah,
it was our first language, like, and then we are still not doing it right, then we could have like regret. But why should we regret? Because it is not something that we learned from our birth, like that we have learned in the past 20 or 25 years. It's we're just doing this for the past 2 or 3 years. So why should I compare to those who
yeah,
has been doing this for this like the 30 years or like the 20 years? So
yeah, exactly. And um, I mean, just go for it. I feel like that's my closing here.
yeah,
Just go
that's
for
what
it.
we need to do.
Yes. Okay. So now we know a little bit of how do you want to design all the struggles that you have as an immigrant and how to find like people to know you. But how did you ended up landing that first UX job here in Canada?
Okay. So and I feel like it wasn't that much easy. Like I also had to go through that kind of like the burnout period by myself because it was I could have like it wasn't like something that I really planned like from the previous like for example those who have planned like okay so they're going to do a job after the study that might they might have different plan but since my initial plan was to like do PhD right after my masters but just before like 1 month, like 1.5 months of starting my PhD, I decided, oh no, I want to do a PhD right now. I want to do the job. Like now I think like, okay, so I have a better idea about the design. Like I want to like at least like give it a try, like how it feels like doing actual the design job in an industry and with all of the design people like in the actual environment. So I just only have like 1.5 months to do my master's defense, and then I have to find a job. And I didn't have my portfolio ready or anything, so I was like super stressed on that time. But after finishing my master's defense, then and at the same time within that a month, I tried my best just to make my portfolio and everything ready. And then on that time, like I was learning on that time, like, so what are things required for a job? Oh, okay. So you need to have a connection or reference that works better. And also you need this and this and that. Like, and it felt like overwhelming. Like people are like, all of my surroundings, they always advised me like, oh, you should go back to your PhD. Like, since this is gonna be like very tough or you don't have a reference or you don't have like a proper design degree or you don't have any like an experience this is not going to work for you. I had done like a tons of like the coffee chat during the pandemic time because we are all home on that time and the online platform was open and most of the feedback I got from that like either you don't have any experience you should either have some experience then start doing a full-time job it's going to be super hard or either it was like oh okay your design is not that fancy and everything or yeah you're not like okay so you're not from a design field so there was like always some things like I also had to face like I know like lots of other people has to go through the same thing so I was disappointed depressed but I still didn't like go back from my goal like as I mentioned like I'm like an obsessed person of my goal but I stayed there like oh okay whatever it is like I have to do it like why cannot I do it like why it's not like possible like I have to do it so then I did like polish my portfolio and I did like added all of my project it took like a I saw like more than 50 plus like revision of my portfolio and my resumes that I had to go through. And also I was like applying for like a tons of also like hundreds of like places I applied, but I got zero responses. So this is common. And it also happened to me like so but there could be like so many variables of that. Like, say I didn't have like a single reference to any of the places like that's where I applied. Like, I also didn't know like on that time, like I during that time I came to know like oh okay you can make connections from LinkedIn or from like some online platform and like ask reference from them. And since as I mentioned, like as that was, oh my god, like how can you ask someone for reference, like who doesn't even know me? Like, oh my god, like what if like they feel disrespected? Like what if they deny me? So I was talking to people, but I didn't ask for reference. A lot of single places or not even a reference. I didn't ask for a single person. Like, oh, okay, can you connect me with that person, or can you like help me on this stuff? I didn't even do that. Like, I don't know. I still regret why didn't I do that? But since I didn't have like a validation, like to me, like if that will actually works on or not, so I didn't try that well because I haven't seen that, for example, in my country or in any other places. So in my eyes, so I wasn't like aware of these cultures in here. So it also like took me a couple of times to adjust with the cultures, and they like somehow like after doing like a tons of like applies and rejections and like everything, somehow like I got couple of interviews, and then I don't know like what happens, like all of a sudden I used to get like more than like a 5 or 10 interview calls just a day. Like, oh, okay, so how am I supposed to give like all this interview just within a week? Like, there's also time like that, but I have to try, right? So there's a time when I was like giving like my first round, like a first round or a second round to some places, and most of the places like the whole day I was in interview. On the second day, sometimes it was like overlapping. So that's like a tons of like a mental stress on that time. But somehow like I made to the final round to a couple of like interviews, and from there one of my current job, like I had to go through all those process and everything. So and then it worked. And I guess like so this is what I already mentioned. So you never know like what kind of experiences will come in handy and will be useful for them. This is a software company, or like this is like a, for example, this is like a software team that I'm working. They were like looking for someone who has like at least a little bit of like a technical background, so they can like easily adjust, and I have that one. So that kind of like worked well for me for this job, and it's still working great. So it was like I wouldn't say like, so I didn't have like a proper like formal process of getting my first job. So I had to go through all those like trials and error, like rejections, failures, and everything, and like one of them worked. So that's how it is.
And I think it's important to mention this. I feel like sometimes we see cases, and it's amazing that people can just find a job right away. But I feel like most of the people will have to go what you went through. Yes, like keep trying. Okay, maybe I need to adjust my resume a little bit. Maybe I need to change my portfolio a little bit. And that only works when you go outside and start trying things. Yes. And
Yeah.
and then you're starting getting the interviews give you the practice, and then you're like, okay, it didn't go well today, maybe I just need to change the way that I'm answering, maybe I need to show a little more of this of what I have done in the past. um, yes, and I think you mentioned, okay, I landed this job where my experience is really powerful and this is a strength that they were looking for. I feel like that came I'm a believer that stuff doesn't just show because I feel like you have put the work and you keep showing to train to show yourself, like keep working on the skills. And when you start getting traction, is because you have worked towards that job. And then that job, you've been practicing so much, talking, interviewing with people, that you landed the job because you've been training like you're for your marathon. Yes.
Yeah.
So I think it's just keep showing the work and keep trying different things and see what it works better at the end of the day.
Yeah,
uh,
and I also wanted to add one thing in here. So, as you already mentioned, like that's just addition to that. So, just don't think like if you get a rejection from one place, don't think like your whole portfolio is a waste or your whole resume is waste. Like it also depends on the company and the work. Like they might not, it might happen like they're looking for something else, but there might be other company they're looking for the same thing that you already have. So just always like believe in yourself and keep the things, but don't feel like demotivated or anything, and don't try to like throw out everything that you have. Like just adjust, but don't throw away.
that's a great point. Do you think that and you know that you were saying, okay, rejection, goes, like no one is calling me, no one is messaging me, and then now all of the sudden a lot of stuff is happening. Do you think that there was like a switch of the way that you start thinking about your work? Because I feel like that's something that you mentioned. It's like, oh, never stop believing in yourself. So I don't know if at the beginning we are like, oh my goodness, is someone going to really believe what I do? Is someone really going to think that I can do the job? Do you think that at one point is like, okay, no, I think that I can do the job. I think I just need to keep moving and keep putting the work.
Yeah, I do definitely think that, because like, as like when I am starting the thing like the for the first time, I didn't know anything, right? Like I had like a zero knowledge of zero checklist of anything. As days goes, like I learned what are the mistakes I have done. I kept editing and I kept like polishing my work, my everything. So the way like I respond to a question, the way I send an email, and the way I write a cover letter, or the way I write resume, everything keeps growing and growing. So, and then like at a certain points, like maybe like that was the point, like when I everything worked like better than before. Like so now maybe like that was the point, like when that was in like a, at least like a standard point, like okay, so this is what might works better. But if someone already like have that kind of standard previously, or if someone already have that guidance, like they can make those kind of like a standard format and the very first attempt. So definitely they'll get the call first attempt, but it took me like hundreds of attempts so to reach that kind of like a standard. So, and that's too like when you reach that one, you will definitely get a call, like if you have that quality and if you have that like work and everything. So it's just, it's always about the work. Like obviously they're hiring you to do the work.
Um, like you went through all of this and you have so many things that you have learned, and I know that for you it's been important to share this with people like you that have come here and don't know what to do. Yeah, like, and a big part of you was saying like, I don't know how is the culture here, like I didn't know that I need to, it's important to have a reference, or it's important to talk people in the company, like we don't know. And I do a lot of mentorships, and a lot of people that um are new in the field, or people that again are immigrants, it's like, oh, I don't know how Canada works. Yeah, like I didn't know that I was supposed to do this because that's how it works here. So how have you empowered your community, and why are you doing that?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. So you already mentioned, so this is not just only my problem. This is like a common problem. Like, so I remember like since the like the I used to get like a lot of like the messages in my LinkedIn. I still get like every single day. There's not a single day that I don't get a like a LinkedIn message like saying like, oh, okay, so how's the study process, or like how's the study in like Canada, or how's the work, or like how do we need to prepare, like and okay, like, oh, okay, so I saw you are an international student, so how did you find a job, like, and everything. So it's just like a common problem. So like, and I think like it's always like good to like show people the real scenario rather than just giving them the fake like hope, like, oh, okay, everything is good here, you can get a job right away, or like the Canada is like so good, like it's just like a home. So I think like I personally I don't do that. I just try to share them my struggle. Okay, see, this is what I have to go through, and if you think this is what like you would be ready to do, then definitely you're welcome. But your journey might be different. I'm showing you the struggles. So if you know the negative things first, or if you know the struggles first, then you can make a choice that, oh, okay, I'm ready to go up to that kind of struggle. But if you don't need to do any struggle, that's good for you. So, and that's why like I always try to like share this kind of like examples and share whatever the knowledge and experience that I have gathered, and through like who reach out to me, and also do like a lot of talking. I have given like more than 50 plus talk in just a year. So I think like this is what like I always love to do, to share my experiences and everything, because we are always like learning from each other. As I already mentioned, like I didn't have the resources and guidance and like networks and everything. So I feel like I whatever I have gone through, like nobody has to like go through something like that. So that's why I think like I'm always ready to like serve or like to share like whatever there is needed for them.
And I feel like at the end of the day, that's the power of sharing your stories. Like, it's not that the other person will replicate or do the same as you. It's like, okay, this is what it could happen. And I think being honest and tell people, okay, yes, definitely Canada has opened so many doors and it's been great for me. But I think just being too honest with people, this is could happen, but this is what you could do around this, or try to do this in advance. All of these always will help people to have a better life here, and find a career in design if it's in the case too. Um, if we can give people, I know that I say three, but if you have more than three, I think three tips for people that want to come or switching careers into design and they're immigrants. What would you tell them that they could maybe use to succeed in Canada as a designers?
Okay, so if I have three, okay, so let's just start with three. And if I can remember more, then I can say, okay, so I feel like the first thing is like just always be ready to face all of those limitation that is coming to you. Like as I already mentioned, like so there'd be so much limitation ahead of you when you're trying to switch a career or switch a country, switch from a different field. Just be prepared to like face all of those, and also like don't get stuck in there. Like there'll be always solution, you just need to find. So you can find a solution just within an hour, or it can take a year or a month to find the solution, but there'll be something. You just need to find it. And the second thing I'd say is just never underestimate your own work and our skill set. That's what we always do. Like I always used to do that. I think I used to think like, oh no, like I may not be good enough, or like I may not be good at them, like who are studying designs. Oh my god, they have those designs, like, and I don't have it. But like everyone has their own strength and like own skill set. So don't underestimate yourself, because so for instance, like I was doing my masters, I have done like 7 or 8 research publication in renowned paper like ACM IEEE, and the people like who I was comparing, like they may not have it, like they have their own strength and I have my own strength. So it is, you need to find a balance, right? To find something like good about you and feel good about you, so that you don't get demotivated of yourself. So second and the third thing is like always be open to learn, because everything is gonna be new as an immigrant, as a like a new career. And also design specifically, it's just always changing. The design tool is always changing, the design pattern is always changing, the design system, design theory is always changing. So you always have to be open of learning new things. And that doesn't mean, okay, forget about whatever you have learned in past, just learn the new things. No, not like that. You need to like keep in mind whatever you have learned, because you never know when that will come in handy, like, and when that will be required. But be open to learn new things, because that will shape you and that will help you grow. And in this like a modern era, like everything is changing so fast. So if you don't want to change, or if you don't want to adjust with the current trend, so there would be like obstacles like to adjust with the trend and the flow. So it's always better to like be open, like, oh okay, whatever will come in front of me, I will just learn it. Okay. And the fourth thing is like say, okay, don't be afraid. So that includes all, like don't be afraid to learn new things, don't be afraid to be in Canada or any other country, don't be afraid to start doing design, because it's not rocket science, right? Even if the rocket science is like invented now, so there's nothing impossible to do, and it's just design. So be open, start doing whatever you like start drawing some Mickey Mouse, or start drawing some Donald Duck or anything. So just start doing and see like if it works for you or not. Like until you try, you wouldn't know if it will work for you or not.
Love it. See, I told you that you have more than three. And I think I just want to finish with a fifth one. And I think is exactly what is happening here. Meet new people, surround yourself with people that is going to inspire you and empower you. I think this is for me one of the biggest most amazing things about the tech community so far, how open people is just to sit down with you and talk about what they have done and how you can improve your work. 80 Pillars is such a great community for you to find mentors and ask questions and see what it is to the day-to-day of working and decide if something that you will like or not. So yeah, make sure that you meet new people. See, this is how we met. I mean, we met because online. Yeah, it's like how amazing is that? So if you don't want to keep missing amazing people like Procheta and finding stories and find resources for you to grow and be better, don't forget to subscribe to UX and Time so you keep meeting people like we do every single week. Procheta, thank you so much. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's hang
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Take care.
Yeah. Thank
Bye.
you, everyone. Okay.